You lean for everyone else until your spine bends. You carry the silent ache, helping, rescuing, saving, hoping your light becomes someone else's home. You sacrifice your sleep, your voice, your boundaries, until you discover the truth. Sometimes the only way to see who truly cares is to stop saving everyone. The moment you stop, the air changes. You awaken to the fact that the energy you poured into everyone else was expended for someone else's survival, never your own. You triggered syphoria, the chase for validation through saviorism, the high of being needed, of feeling essential. You've been an emotional emergency room for everyone else, and it felt powerful. But power without choice is enslavement. You were equating your self-worth with your usefulness, mistaking exhaustion for purpose. In your mindset, you begin to question, why must the world be saved through your compassion? Why is your peace the currency of emotional rescue? You realize self-abandonment disguised as nobility is not healing, it's hollowing. This pain cracks open your belief system. There is no honor in martyrdom. You begin to believe that caring for yourself is not selfish, that letting some fall may mean your own soul stands tall. Clarity arrives when you stop answering every call. You see who truly calls back not out of need, but out of reciprocity. You stop filling emotional voids meant for someone else's healing. You see the difference between those who lean into your presence and those who lean on it. From this clarity, vision emerges. You envision a life where compassion flows with bounds, not through bondage. Where support doesn't drain your reserve, but connects you to those who hold space for you too. Where clarity, not crisis, defines your connections. Purpose reveals itself in stillness. No longer is your purpose to rescue, but to exist as a beacon steadily, quietly, without sacrificing your integrity. In that intention, discipline finds you. You honor your rest. You uphold your limits. You choose peace over chaos, boundaries over burnout, presence over permission seeking. Action follows, not as reaction, but as alignment. You stop fixing others. You fix your habits. You stop explaining your absence. You simply hold it with integrity. You step away from the need to prove your empathy. You remain empathic within boundaries, without drowning in others' storms. Gratitude blooms for the silences you once ignored, the rest you once denied. You are grateful for the pain that taught you to value your energy, the burnout that awakened your worth. You're grateful for the people who stuck even when you released your rescuing. You cherish the ones who stayed not because you saved them, but simply because you were you. Adaptability becomes grace. When someone recoils from your boundary, you do not collapse. You adjust in clarity, not in confusion. You offer support not through sacrifice, but through choice, with the wisdom to say, I can't fix this, but I can stand with you. Resilience rises not from running toward murky empathy, but from refusing to collapse in clear compassion. You learn to ride your own emotional waves, feeling deeply, holding strong, not losing yourself in the undertow of other people's disarray. Learning becomes a quiet observance. You notice who rests in your kindness, who empties it. You learn the difference between calling in abundance and draining from desperation. You learn that saving everyone saves no one, including yourself. This isn't coldness. It's clarity. It's not neglect. It's self-honoring. And the people who truly care, they begin to circle closer, not for your rescue, but in relationship. They stand more firmly, love more deeply, and hold more wholly because you are not your savior anymore. You are simply, authentically you. And when the world asks for your breath again, breathe into yourself first. When the world asks for your fragments, offer your wholeness instead. When they expect your courage at the cost of your rest, choose your stillness. Because the only way to know who truly cares is to stop sacrificing your peace to prove your presence. When you stop saving everyone, you'll finally see who stays not out of debt, but out of love. You will know what real connection feels like when you free yourself from rescue. And from that freedom, you become unforgettable, calm, whole, sovereign, and finally seen. You stand in the quiet that your soul always craved. Not the loud silence of abandonment, but the full-bodied silence of integrity rekindled. You're no longer on the emotional treadmill, sprinting to make others whole. You've stepped off, not with guilt, not with fury, but with the clarity of someone who finally knows. You cannot be everything to everyone without becoming nothing to yourself. Every breath you take now is a boundary declared not as punishment, but as protection. You don't protect others by giving. Until you vanish, you protect yourself so that your presence, when it arrives, holds substance. You learn that your peace is not a reward for generosity. It is the foundation from which true generosity flows. You watch how the world responds. Some collapse into confusion. Why aren't you saving me anymore? They panic at your stillness, but that's okay. The ones meant for your peace won't demand rescue, they're respected. The ones who care will circle back with reverence, not desperation. In that circle, you see truth. Not the need to rescue, but the willingness to stand together, mutual, unburdened by martyrdom. You learn that connection isn't about being needed, it's about being chosen. Not because you sacrifice your peace, but because you share your presence whole. Your soul breathes here, no longer fragmented by frantic generosity, not defined by how much you give, but by how deeply you hold yourself. This is your becoming, not the person who saves everyone, but the fearless center in whose calm others discover their own strength. And in that calm, your own unshakable whole self, the most revolutionary love, begins. You are not saving everyone. You are saving yourself. And by doing that, you finally see who really cares. And that is the home you've been seeking all along. You stand now not as an echo of who you've been told to be, but as the embodied expression of your soul's sovereign becoming. This is the culmination of a journey not towards someone new, but into the revealed truth of who you already were. Let the concepts of individuation illuminate your transformation. As Carl Jung taught, this process isn't about self-construction, it's about the dissolution of layers, the persona, the unconscious, the projection so that your authentic self can emerge. Individuation weaves together conscious awareness with the hidden depths, integrating the ego with the archetypes of shadow, anima animus, and the self where wholeness resides. m.youtube.comverywellmind.com+1. A soul reuniting with itself, surrounded by echoes of its own clarity. What you've undergone is precisely this, a peeling away. You've surrendered masks, reclaimed your shadow, gently collapsed persona. You've met the archetypal currents beneath the noise, integrating your internal contradictions into one dynamic whole. From this emerge not fragments, but unshakable presence. This journey continues, not as drama, not as peak, but as evolution. Mistakes will arise, crises will visit. Yet you remain anchored. You no longer react, you respond from the self that has the wisdom of the storm inside it. Know this, individuation does not end. It deepens. The self becomes both center and unfolding. You are not atop a summit, you are becoming the horizon. Now, as you return to the world, love not to be needed, but because your soul overflows. Speak not to be heard, but because your truth resonates. Stay not to be understood, but because your presence is shaped from within. This is not rewriting yourself, it's remembering. And from that remembrance comes a final, powerful knowing. You're home, absolutely, beautifully, profoundly you. Let this continuation, then, rise as a spiritual echo, not a sequel, not an afterthought, but the next natural unfolding, the quiet power of what happens after you stop saving everyone. Because what no one tells you is this: after you reclaim your energy, after you draw the line, after you refuse to sacrifice yourself for proximity, you will feel empty. Not because you've done something wrong, but because for the first time you are no longer pouring. You are no longer explaining. You are no longer bending, fixing, overgiving, shrinking. And the absence of that constant doing will feel like loss. It will feel like silence in a room that was once filled with noise. It will feel like standing in a wide, echoing cathedral of your own making and not knowing what to worship anymore. That is the void between who you were and who you are becoming. Do not flee it. Do not fill it. Do not mistake it for loneliness. It is a sacred pause, a breath the soul takes before it speaks again in its own voice. You will want to go back, back to being needed, back to the high of being the hero, back to the chaos that gave you purpose. But instead stay. Stay in the stillness until it no longer feels like abandonment, but arrival. Stay until your presence is enough, even when no one clings to it. Stay until your value is no longer tied to who depends on you, but who honors you even when you offer nothing but yourself. This is where your next becoming begins. In the quiet, you will start to remember your needs, your desire, your neglected dreams, the sound of your own joy, the way your body moves when no one's watching, the color of your thoughts when they aren't shaped to please. And slowly, without effort or announcement, you begin to rebuild your life not around who you can rescue, but around what truly resurrects you. And from that resurrection, you rise again, not into saviorhood, but into sovereignty, not into usefulness, but into wholeness. And that is the most sacred transformation of all. You begin to feel it, not all at once, but like warmth returning to a limb that had gone numb. It's subtle, almost imperceptible, the way your shoulders stop bracing for the next collapse that isn't yours to carry. The way your voice no longer trembles when you say number. The way you stop rehearsing your worth to people who were never listening. This is the rebirth no one sees. Not the phoenix rising in fire, but the slow, holy stillness of a soul, remembering how to breathe without begging for air. You do not need to be anyone's hero anymore, because you have finally rescued the one who matters most. The you that was always buried under obligation. The you that smiled through depletion. The you that was praised for disappearing. The you that was loved for being easy to need and impossible to keep. That version of you, she died so you could live. And the one who stands in her place now does not move from scarcity, but from sacred reserve. Your time is sacred now. Your peace is sacred now. Your energy is sacred now. And only those who speak the language of reciprocity may enter. Only those who bring presence, not performance. Depth, not demand. Intimacy, not illusion. You don't owe your open hands to those who only take. You don't owe your softness to those who weaponize it. You don't owe your story to those who see you as a supporting character in theirs. Because now, you are the main character, not of an egoic narrative, but of a deeply sovereign existence where your love is an offering, not a leash. Your presence is a gift, not a currency. Your boundaries are not barriers, they are altars. And only the ones willing to kneel at the altar of mutual respect will meet you there. You are not distant now, you are defined. You are not hard now, you are whole. You are not less kind, you are finally clear. And clarity is the most sacred act of love you will ever give yourself. Let the silence stretch. Let the empty space breathe. Let the absence of chaos reveal what was buried beneath it all along. You, unclaimed, unapologetics, and finally, unafraid. You stand in that sacred stillness, not as someone fulfilling expectations, but as a presence sculpted by inner truth. In that space, your power is not loud, it's luminous. Not aggressive, it's anchored. Not fleeting, it's firm. You no longer fix, perform, or please your way into belonging. Instead, you come as your own belonging. You hold your own gravity, so others orbit softly or not at all. Your silence becomes clarity. Your boundaries become love letters to yourself. Your calm becomes the invitation for real connection, rooted in mutual respect, not transactional proximity. This is where your becoming deepens, not in accolades or achievements, but in the quiet elegance of self-possession. The world may still expect you to unravel, collapse, explain, but you don't unravel. You don't collapse. You don't explain. You simply remain, unmovable, unshakable, undeniably yourself. This is your revolution, not outward, but inward, not about changing them, but reclaiming you, not to be seen, but to see your worth, your presence, your soul. From this place, you no longer ask who will save you. You become the sanctuary you once desperate searched for. And in that, you finally understand. You are the only one who could ever save you. That is your strength, timeless, boundless, sovereign, always yours. And so you continue unbroken, unwavering, undeniably sovereign. You walk forward, not as someone molded by others, but as one sculpted by your own becoming. Your presence is no longer a plea, it is your proclamation. Not a performance, but a presence so clear, so whole, so resolute, it invites others not to lean on you, but to stand beside you. You don't rescue hearts anymore. You hold your own. You don't negotiate away your peace. You keep it sacred. You don't weaken for connection. You offer your strength as a sanctuary. Your calm is no longer conditional. It flows from your essence. Your love no longer a transaction. It stems from self-possession. Your boundaries are not walls. They are altars of self-honor. You are not surviving anymore. You are rising back into the fullness of yourself. Beyond roles, expectations, scripts, you simply are. And in that sacred being, the real magic unfolds. This is not an end. It's your becoming. Present, whole, radiant, unapologetically, eternally you. You remain not by force, but by descent. Not in comfort, but through courage. In the depths of your own becoming, you've crossed a threshold reserved for those few who dare to look into their own darkness, unflinchingly. Carl Jung called this the individuation process, the sacred return to yourself. It's not a journey outward, but one that travels inward, integrating every shadow you once fled, weaving your wounds into wisdom. This path begins with the fall of the persona, the mask you wore to fit in, to be liked, to belong on someone else's terms. You watched it dissolve, no longer defined by roles or expectations. In that dissolution, you met the shadow, the suppressed parts of yourself that frightened you. But instead of running, you stayed. You embraced the darkness, and within it found creative strength, instinct, depth. And then came the anima and animus, the feminine within a man, the masculine within a woman, archetypal energies that broaden empathy and clarity. All currents of the unconscious converge toward the self, a unifying center of consciousness and soul no longer fragmented by fear, but whole in essence. As Jung taught, individuation is not perfection. It is completion, a surrender of false selves. To reveal your deeper wholeness, you no longer chase others' approval. You stand anchored not by applause, but by the gentle power of integrated truth. You've done the inner alchemy, shadow to gold, persona to presence, ego to self. You walk onward wiser, quieter, more alive, no longer waiting to be saved. You become your own returning. You've entered not just a continuation, but an unfolding. The essence of what's coming next isn't invention, it's revelation. What you're experiencing now, this profound ease, this unspoken sovereignty, isn't the end of your journey. It's the deepening of a sacred process, Carl Jung, called individuation, the lifelong quest to become who you most fundamentally are. As Jung described, individuation is not an achievement, but a return to wholeness, weaving the fragmented self into a unified field where conscious and unconscious, Ego and soul finally breathe together. You dismantled the persona, the mask you once wore, to win approval and belonging. Now you no longer perform, you simply are. This mask dissolved not in drama, but by surrender, revealing your deeper alignment. You faced the shadow, the unacknowledged parts you were afraid to own. You invited them home, not to be controlled, but to be integrated. Within that darkness, you discovered your creativity, strength, and primal vitality. You welcomed the anima, or animus, the soulful opposite that bridges masculine and feminine, instinct and intuition, expanding your empathy, your balance, your depth. Now, the self no longer a distant idea, but your deep center emerges, a presence beyond fear, beyond persona, fully sovereign and luminous. Individuation never ends, it morphs. In each passing day, you peel back another layer. Your clarity deepens. Your boundaries mature. Your peace becomes quiet power, every no sculpted with self-respect, every yes a sacred alignment. This unfolding isn't performance, it's prophecy. You're no longer saving others to prove your worth. You're saving yourself through presence, not through heroic acts, but through consistent devotion to integrity. This is not rewriting who you are, it's remembering, soul by soul, breath by breath, moment by moment. You linger in the hush that follows a soul's return, not finished, but deepening. This is the sacred quiet where your truest self ripens. The path of individuation, Jung's purpose of life, isn't a mountain summit you conquer. It's a perpetual descent inward, a deliberate unraveling of each persona, each shield, each illusion, until you rest in clarity. Day by day, you shed the echoes of external approval. Your presence becomes more silent, but denser. You cease performing and start existing so deeply that no noise, no crisis, no praise, no erosion can shift you. Your boundaries, once indistinct lines drawn by others, now pulse softly in your light. Your choices, once shaped by fear of rejection, now arise from the whispers of embodied truth. Your stillness is not surrender, it's sovereign potency. Your resistance to unkindness is not harsh, it's sacred authority. You no longer enter rooms to be anything. You arrive as everything you already are. This is not the end of becoming. It is the flowering of the self whole, resplendent, eternally becoming. And in this flowering, you don't just exist. You emanate. You no longer chase your essence. You are it. Your life is your canvas, painted in the color of remembrance. Your soul is your sanctuary, built not by escaping, but by returning. You've stopped saving everyone. You have become your own salvation. And that uncut, unshakable, unending is the end of the story you once knew. Now, you begin in a mode beyond becoming. You simply are, truly, timelessly you. You rest in that sacred silence, not because the journey is done, but because your soul has returned home to the place you always were. This quiet is not the absence of journey, it's the presence of arrival. You walk no longer with confusion or expectation, but with the steady clarity of someone who has integrated every shadow and freed every longing. What unfolds next transcends any narrative. It is the embodiment of yourself, alive and unbroken. Day by day, layer by layer, you release the ghosted roles, the worn-out expectations, the scripts you were given or wrestled into. And with each surrender, something deeper stirs your soul's quiet pulse, reclaims space. You no longer seek validation, but resonance. Not approval, but alignment. Not familiarity, but truth. In this unfolding, your boundaries are not barricades, they are stewards of your essence. Your presence is not performance, but sovereignty. Your choices spring not from pleasing, but from belonging to the call of your own integrity. You cease chasing your becoming. You simply become, not by shaping yourself into someone useful, but by unmasking to reveal your own gravity. Your calm is not like its presence, not escape, but foundation. not detachment, but the depth beneath reaction. And now you walk through life less as a character in someone else's story and more as the living essence of your own. You don't ask the world to shape you. You shape your own world through the coherence of being exactly who you are. This isn't the climax of transformation, it's the unfolding of clarity. It's not seeking an end, but embracing eternity in each breath. Not hoping for healing, but living from healing already complete. You no longer save others with exhaustion, but you save yourself with silence. That silence becomes sanctuary for you and others. In that sanctuary, you gather those who resonate, who reflect your reverence for presence, who carry their own souls unshaken. Together, you form a subtle community not built on demand, but on devotion. This is not a story. It is a becoming that is beyond words, beyond roles, beyond need. It is the soul's homecoming, unspoken, unbound, unmistakably real. And that truth, humble yet radiant, becomes everything. You've arrived quietly, sovereignly luminous with your own becoming. But this isn't the summit, it's the dawn of a new dimension of living. Now, the stillness you've cultivated is no longer a retreat from the world, but a radiance that transforms it. You drift through days like gravity made flesh, where your presence is an invitation, not an obligation. You hold space not for healing others, but to honor shared humanity. Your words, when they come, are not to convince or explain. They are ripples in the quiet of everything you've come to know. Relationships shift, not by grand gestures, but through resonance. Those who sense your clarity draw near not out of need, but in recognition. And what you learn now is profound. Stillness is your evolution, not chaos, not drama, but deep, unwavering fidelity to yourself. You no longer exist in the tension between expectations and reality, because reality now is your integrity. Expectations have no hold on you. You're not building a legacy. You simply are one. This is not the end. It's the gracefulness of an endless return to self-threading presence through every breath, every decision, every silent heartbeat. And in that subtle becoming you discover, to simply be is your most radical, timeless, and magnificent act. You stand now in the quiet aftermath of profound transformation, not as someone resting at the end of the road, but as the road itself. The horizon you once chased is now the horizon that lives within you, unshakable and unbounded. Your presence is no longer tethered to validation or demand. It radiates from a stillness so deep it needs no echo. You're calm, a gift you once thought earned through sacrifice, now simply island. In this presence, your words naturally carry weight, not because they convince, but because they align. Relationships evolve not by effort, but by mutual understanding. Those who resonate settle near, not out of need, but out of recognition. Here's your revolutionary truth. Stillness is your power, not surrender, not retreat, but serene sovereignty. You move through life without the tension of trying to prove yourself. Your reality is shaped by your integrity. Expectations no longer bend you, clarity does. You're not constructing a legacy. You embody one. This is not an ending, it's a graceful, infinite return to yourself. With each breath, each choice, each silent heartbeat, you deepen. And in that deepening you learn to simply be is your ultimate act of presence, purpose, and power. And so you arrive again and again, not at a finish line, but at a truth that keeps unfolding. You are not here to prove. You are not here to perform. You are not here to save. You are here to be, fully, fiercely, silently, if needed, because now you know real love doesn't need a savior, it needs a soul. Present, clear, whole. You will still give, but never again from depletion. You will still care, but never again without discernment. You will still love, but never again by losing yourself. You've stopped saving everyone, and in doing so, You've saved the one who matters most, yourself. And in that sacred choice, you will always see who truly cares. They won't be the ones who clung to your giving. They will be the ones who stood with your becoming. Let the world misunderstand your stillness. Let them question your silence. Let them walk away when you stop bending. Because those who remain when you no longer break, those are your people. Those are your mirrors. Those are your sacred circle. And you are not a savior. You are the sanctuary, now and forever whole, unshakable, and finally free. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul. But that is only half the truth. The eyes are not just windows, they are mirrors, portals, codes, written in color and light. They are the living record of where you have been and the silent map of where you are meant to go. When you look into your own eyes, you are staring into something older than your body, older than your name, older than the life you are living right now. Carl Jung understood that symbols carry truths the conscious mind cannot easily grasp. And your eyes, those small, seemingly ordinary spheres, are one of the deepest symbols your body holds. Their color is not random. Their depth is not an accident. The hue you carry is an echo of your soul's task in this life, the mission you were born to fulfill, even if you've never spoken it aloud. Think of the moment a child opens their eyes for the first time. The body is fragile, the voice unformed, but the eyes are ancient. They arrive already knowing. They have looked on things the conscious mind will never recall, but the soul has not forgotten. Your eye color is not just pigment, it is frequency. Every shade, from the palest blue to the darkest brown, carries a vibration. It is the signature your soul signed into the matter of your body before you took your first breath. It whispers the nature of your path, the terrain you are meant to walk, the shadows you are meant to face, and the light you are meant to bring into the world. Blue eyes, clear as frozen seas, speak of vision and distance. The soul behind them often carries the gift of seeing beyond the immediate moment, sensing patterns and possibilities others miss. But with that gift comes the challenge of grounding, of not drifting so far into the horizon that you forget to plant your feet in the soil of now. Green eyes, rare as untouched forests, hold the code of transformation. The souls who wear them are alchemists in human form, meant to take the raw, chaotic materials of life and transmute them into something new. They walk between worlds, carrying the tension of both creation and destruction within them. Their mission is change, but change requires the courage to let things die. Brown eyes, deep as fertile earth, belong to the stabilizers, the anchors, the builders. These souls have come to root themselves in the human experience, to nurture life, to hold the structure while others dance in the winds. But their challenge is not to mistake stability for stagnation, because even the strongest soil must allow itself to be turned. Hazel eyes, shifting like light over water, mark the shapeshifters, the adaptive souls who cannot be caged in one form or destiny. They carry many lifetimes' worth of skills and perspectives, able to move between roles, cultures, and identities with ease. But in that fluidity lies their test, to know when to choose, when to stay, when to hold still long enough to leave a lasting mark. And yet beyond all colors there is a deeper truth. The mission is not written in the eye color itself, but in the way it reflects who you truly are when you strip away the noise. Your eyes do not just reveal where you are strong, they reveal where you are afraid. They reveal the places you avoid looking at, both in the world and in yourself. They betray every moment you pretend to be something you're not. Look closely in the mirror, not at your face, but into your own gaze. Hold it without flinching. What do you see staring back? Not the socially acceptable version of you, not the mask you wear to keep peace. The other one, the one who knows exactly what you came here to do, even if you've been ignoring it. Most people avoid this exercise because the truth in their own eyes is too loud. Jung would call this the confrontation with the self, the moment the conscious mind meets the totality of who you are, without distortion. It is both terrifying and liberating, because once you see it, you cannot go back to pretending you don't know. Your soul's mission is not something you choose. It is something you uncover, something you remember. And your eyes, these ancient witnesses, are the keys. They will remind you of the moments you were most alive. They will show you the things that still spark fire in your chest. They will reflect the wounds you carry, not as scars to hide, but as instructions for how to heal, not just yourself, but others. The code in your eyes is not there to predict a fate you cannot change. It is there to call you back to yourself when the world tries to make you forget. It is there to remind you that you were born not by accident, but by appointment. That the traits you carry, the way you think, the way you feel, the way you move through this world, are not random fragments, but pieces of a design. And the moment you stop avoiding that design, the moment you meet your own gaze and say, I know you, everything in your life begins to realign around the truth you were born with. Your eyes already hold it. They always have. The question is whether you will have the courage to see it. And when you finally dare to see it, truly see it, something ancient stirs inside you. It is not a voice you hear with your ears. It is more like a vibration, a pulse deep in your chest, as though the universe itself is reminding you, this is why you are here. It feels both familiar and strange, because you have known it all along, yet you have buried it under years of noise, expectation, and survival. Life has a way of covering the soul's mission with layers of dust. But your eyes, they never forget. They have been holding the code quietly, waiting for the moment you are ready to remember. This is why, when you look into the eyes of another and feel an unexplainable recognition, it's not just attraction, it's resonance. It's two frequencies aligning, two codes speaking the same ancient language. You don't need words in those moments. You know them, because something in them reflects the truth in you. And yet, most people never unlock this. They live their entire lives looking outward through their eyes, never realizing the deeper treasure lies in looking inward. They use their eyes to scan the world for opportunities, threats, approval, but never to search their own depths for the original assignment they came here to fulfill. Carl Jung once said, your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. The code in your eyes is the bridge between those two directions, outward and inward. It is the reminder that the truth of who you are is not found in the crowd, but in the mirror. Every time you deny that truth, your eyes change not in color, but in light. You've seen it in others. The dullness that creeps in when someone has abandoned their path. The shadow that clouds over when they have silenced their own voice for too long. The restless flicker when they are trapped in a life that does not fit them. And you've also seen the opposite, the unmistakable clarity in the eyes of someone who is aligned with their mission. It's almost unsettling, the way they can look at you as though they see past every mask you wear. That clarity isn't magic. It's the natural result of living in harmony with the code they were born with. When you align with your soul's mission, your eyes sharpen, not in cruelty, but in focus. You no longer waste sight on what doesn't matter. You begin to notice the details others overlook, the patterns beneath the noise, the subtle openings where destiny invites you forward. And that's when the world starts to respond differently to you. Doors you thought were locked swing open. People you once had to chase begin to find their way to you. Situations that felt impossible shift in ways you couldn't have planned. It isn't luck, it's resonance. When you live according to the code in your eyes, your life stops being a random sequence of events and becomes a field of alignment. The right things start to find you because you have finally stepped into the frequency where they live. But here is the danger. Once you awaken to that mission, you will never again be able to tolerate what is out of alignment. The jobs, the relationships, the routines that once numbed you into comfort will begin to feel unbearable. You will feel the pull to shed them, even when it's inconvenient. even when it terrifies you. And that is where most people stop. They catch a glimpse of the truth in their own eyes, but the cost of living it feels too high. So they turn away. They go back to sleep. They convince themselves it was just a passing thought, a fantasy, a phase. But you will know better. You will know that the cost of ignoring your mission is far greater than the cost of following it. Because every time you look in the mirror, those eyes will remind you of what you abandoned. They will not let you forget. The code will keep calling, softly at first, then louder, until it becomes impossible to ignore. And when it becomes impossible to ignore, you will feel it like a storm building behind your ribs. Not a gentle nudge, not a passing idea, but a pressure, an ache, an almost physical force pulling you toward the life you were meant to live. You will wake in the night with the sense that something is unfinished. You will move through the day feeling like you are wearing clothes that belong to someone else. And no matter how much you try to distract yourself, the pull will still be there. That's the nature of the soul's mission. It does not negotiate. It will wait, but it will not compromise. You can try to silence it with busyness, with routine, with the comfortable mediocrity the world rewards. But in the stillness, always in the stillness, it will rise again. Your eyes know this. They are the one part of you that never lies. Your voice can flatter, your posture can deceive, your words can deflect, but your eyes will tell the truth to anyone who knows how to see. Even you, especially you. And here's the thing Jung would remind you. The mission written in your eyes is not about personal glory. It's not about chasing some ego-driven image of success. It is about becoming the exact force the world needs you to be, nothing more, nothing less. It is about fulfilling the reason you were trusted with this body, this breath, this lifetime. You will know you are aligned when your actions begin to carry weight beyond your own life. When the work you do, the words you speak, the way you move through the world leaves a trace that others can follow. Not because you told them to, but because something in them recognizes the code in you and it awakens their own. This is why the rarest connections you will ever feel are not built on shared hobbies, similar tastes, or even mutual goals. They are built on resonance between two missions. You will look into someone's eyes and see that they too have unlocked their code. There is no jealousy there, no competition, only recognition. Because when you meet someone else who has embraced their mission, you realize you are not walking alone. But understand this. The path is not without cost. The moment you begin to live according to the code in your eyes, you will lose certain people. Not because they are bad, but because they are not ready. Your clarity will unsettle them. Your direction will expose their drift. Your courage will challenge their excuses. And you must let them go. Not with bitterness, but with the understanding that their time will come or it won't. That is their path to walk, not yours to carry. The more you walk in alignment, the sharper your vision becomes, not just outward, but inward. You begin to see every place you have been dishonest with yourself, every time you've played small to be accepted, every mask you've worn for so long you almost forgot it was a mask. And you strip them away, one by one, until the person staring back at you in the mirror is the one you were meant to see all along. When you reach that point, your eyes will change, not in color, but in presence. They will hold the steadiness of someone who has nothing to prove and nothing to hide. They will carry a depth that will make some people feel at home and others feel exposed. They will be the undeniable signal that you have remembered who you are. And once you have remembered, the mission begins in earnest. And when the mission begins in earnest, life stops moving in the slow, predictable rhythm you once knew. It accelerates. Opportunities appear that feel less like chance and more like summons. The right people cross your path at the exact moment you need them, not by coincidence, but because you are now walking the path that was always meant for you. You will notice that decisions become clearer. Not necessarily easier. Sometimes the clearest decision is also the hardest, but the fog of indecision that once clouded your life will begin to lift. Because when you are aligned with your soul's code, there is less noise. The endless what-ifs that once spun in your head are replaced by a steady, almost instinctive knowing. This is the way. But with that clarity comes responsibility. The mission in your eyes is not a romantic fantasy. It is a calling that demands discipline, sacrifice, and courage. It will ask you to let go of comfort. It will demand that you face the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. It will strip you of false identities, not to punish you, but to make you light enough to carry the work you were born to do. You will have moments where you question whether you are capable of it. Nights when the weight of the task feels too great. Days when you long for the simpler life you had before you awakened. But each time you look in the mirror, those eyes will anchor you. They will remind you that the simpler life was never truly simple. It was just smaller. It was filled with compromises that drained your soul in ways you didn't notice until you stopped making them. This is why the mission can never be forced on someone. It must be chosen consciously, repeatedly, especially when it costs you something you thought you couldn't live without. And here's the paradox. The more you choose it, the more it will give back to you. Not always in the ways you expect, not always in applause, recognition, or tangible rewards, but in a deep sense of rightness that no amount of comfort could ever replace. The sense that you are living in sync with the pulse of something greater than yourself. When you walk in that alignment, your presence changes the space around you. You become a living reminder to others of what is possible when a person chooses truth over safety. Some will be inspired, some will be threatened, but all will feel it. This is the silent power of unlocking the code in your eyes. You don't have to preach it, you don't have to convince anyone. Your life itself becomes the proof. Your gaze becomes the mirror in which others see the gap between who they are and who they could be. And in time, you will realize the mission was never about reaching some grand destination. It was about becoming the kind of person who could walk this path with integrity no matter where it leads. Because when your last day comes and your eyes close for the final time, it will not matter how many understood you, how many approved of you, or how many followed you. What will matter is this. You saw your mission. You lived it. You carried the code with honor. And for that, your soul will know you fulfilled what you came here to do. And in that final knowing, there will be no fear, no grasping at what could have been, no bitterness toward those who doubted you or those who left. Only the deep, unshakable peace of someone who did not turn away from what was written in their own being. Because that's the truth most never face. Your soul's mission is not given to you by chance. It is tailored to you, down to the very fibers of your existence. The strengths you were born with, the struggles you endured, the strange and winding paths that brought you here, they were all part of the preparation. Even the moments you thought were detours were shaping you. The heartbreaks, the betrayals, the years of feeling lost. Each one carved depth into you. Depth you would later need to carry the weight of what you were here to do. The pain you cursed in the moment became the muscle you lean on now. And if you look closely, you'll see this truth in your eyes even now. That's why they carry both light and shadow. Because your mission is never just about spreading light, it's about holding both. It's about understanding the darkness well enough that you can guide others through it without getting lost yourself. The world will try to tell you that this calling is impractical. It will push you toward safer paths, toward work and relationships that don't demand so much of you. It will tempt you with easier lives that require less truth. And maybe for a time you will be tempted. Maybe you'll even step away from the mission for a while. But you will always come back. Because you can't unknow what you've seen. You can't unhear the call once you've truly heard it. You will come back. Because your soul has no interest in comfort at the expense of purpose. You will come back. Because every time you look into your own eyes, you'll see the quiet insistence there, the reminder that you are not finished yet. And when you finally surrender to that truth fully, you will understand that the mission was never a burden. It was always a gift that was meant to challenge you, yes, but also to expand you, to show you the vastness of who you are when you stop living for approval and start living for alignment. A gift that would bring you into contact with people and places you never could have reached otherwise. A gift that in the end would be the very thing that set you free. And when you leave this world, that freedom will remain. It will remain in the work you've done, in the people you've touched, in the invisible currents you've shifted, just by daring to live according to what was written in you from the beginning. Because your eyes, those ancient witnesses, will have seen it all. From the moment you were born to the moment you left, they will have carried the code faithfully. And in that last instant, when they close, it will be with the certainty that you answered the call. You found your mission. You lived it without compromise. And that is all the soul ever asks of you. And in that last breath, there will be no unfinished business between you and your life. No lingering ache of if only. No quiet shame of roads not taken. Only the steady calm of someone who stood in the center of their truth and refused to move. The world may not have understood you. It may not have celebrated you in the way it celebrates the comfortable, the compliant, the easily explained, but it will have felt you. It will have been shifted, however slightly, by your existence. Because you did not come here to blend in, you came here to leave a mark. Not in shallow applause, not in temporary fame, but in the unseen ways that shape the soul of the world. And you have. Your eyes, the ancient record keepers, will have seen the mission through from beginning to end. They will have watched you stumble, rise, choose, and choose again. They will have witnessed you stand against the gravity of fear, the seduction of safety, the pull of smallness. And now, as they close for the final time, they will close in peace. Because the code they carried from the start has been fulfilled. You became what you were sent here to become. You did what you were sent here to do. And that is the rarest ending of all. To leave this world knowing you lived the exact life your soul was meant to live.